Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Super excited to talk about today's topic. We are going to talk all about relationships. One of my favorite topics because it is one area that if you want to evolve the quickest, a relationship is going to do this. It is going to evolve you more than your own family. There is a reason for this. When two souls decide to come together, they are choosing at the core to say, I want to help you evolve. Now, I do not mean to strip the romance and the love out of it all, but the truth of the matter is the agreement actually has to do with saying, I want to help you evolve, which means evolving is growth, right? A partner is going to help you grow the most. It is why my soul put me in relationships for year after year after year, because for me, the quickest way to get me to my goal was a relationship. And hands down, it did that. Each relationship played a different piece of my life. Each relationship had different lessons and variables that they were showing me. And if you listen to my first episode, because this is an inside out world, they were reflecting everything that I needed to see. And because they are very close to me and we spend lots of time together, it was the quickest way to get there. But there was also this variable that I couldn't quite pinpoint until I started to wake up and do all these spiritual tools. But each relationship felt different, and I couldn't understand what made that feeling. And it's what we're going to talk about today, these 4 areas that you want to look for in a partnership. What I didn't realize is in each relationship that I had, different components of these 4 areas were being played out. I also had a relationship where I had 2 of the areas and not 4. I had 3 of the areas and not 4. I had 4 of the areas, and each one felt completely different. But if you are looking for a relationship that is going to blow your socks off and is going to make you feel so deeply connected to someone, you're going to want to aim for a 4 out of 4. And we will get into that in a second, a little bit more later. But these components are that piece from a okay, mediocre relationship to the most amazing in love relationship you can look for. And that was the difference I kept feeling in relationships. I'm missing something to, oh my God, I feel more deeply connected to this person. Why is that? It's because these 4 pieces are what makes you a match to somebody. We're going to go through each one of them. But if you have 2 of them out of 4, obviously you're going to be half of a match to this person. So you're going to feel a bigger whole of going, oh, I don't connect to this person as deeply. Now, the reason why this is so important is because, like we talked about, relationships are here to help you evolve. So if you have a 2 out of 4 match, it's only going to help you evolve 2 of these areas. Now, if you have a 3 out of 4, that relationship is going to help you evolve 3 of the 4 areas. Realistically, you want to aim for a 3 out of 4. Really, your goal should be a 4 out of 4. Now, before you panic, if you are in a relationship and you are anything less than a 4 out of 4, do not worry. Your soul planned it. There's ways to change things. But more importantly, there is reason for not having a 4 out of 4. But if you are not in a relationship, aim for the 4 out of 4. It's going to be the most fulfilling relationship. You will feel like there isn't an area where you can't connect with your partner. And that connection is what deepens your love for each other. It's going to be more fulfilling. It's going to be that deeper connection. So let's get into each area. The first area we're going to talk about is a mental match. A mental match is the ability to talk for hours on end with somebody, not run out of things to say. If you remember, maybe when you were younger, you could talk late nights with your friends for hours and hours. It's that same feeling. Now, I mentioned friends. Friends, you do want to aim for the same thing. The same variables are played in every single person, but we're just talking about relationships. But if you have this in a friend, that friendship is also going to be the most rewarding friendship. So mental is that ability to talk for hours on end, not run out of things to say. You can go days and days and days and literally speak the same language. You understand each other. Now, keep in mind, you do not want to test these areas logically with your brain. You're going to want to test it intuitively, because there can be many, many, many things playing out like reflections that could make it seem like you're not a match in an area. A lot of people I've also seen think they're a match and they're not a match in that area. So again, you are going to want to look at this intuitively. So that first area is a mental match. Now, I remember one of my relationships, we were a match to this, many of them, but one specifically, and we could just talk and talk and talk. It was one of the things that I swear is why we stayed together so long, is because we just got each other. We could just talk and just get each other on that level. So mental match is number one. Second area is a physical match. Physical match is being in the same rhythm. Not one person is running and the other person is a light jog. Same rhythm, also being into the same things. So you're into the same hobbies. They don't have to be all over the map, but in a similar vein. Another thing is, even with intimacy, being in that same rhythm, being into the same things, understanding each other in that way. And again, reflections can play a part. A lot of programming can play a part. So you can be a match physically, but have some things that need to kind of get worked out. But overall, you're into the same things, you're drawn to the same things. I know I have many friends who I'm a physical match with, and we just enjoy the same things. So if it's a level 9-10 for me, it's a 9-10 for them. And another thing to keep in mind, a physical match will be also age. So mainly it's around like an 8 to 9 year gap. If you're over 8 to 9, you're most likely not a physical match. You will feel the difference of a physical match because of that major age gap. Also, it's the build, just looking. I dated somebody who's like insanely tall and I was really short, not a physical match. I know there's a lot of relationships. My dear friend who just got married over this weekend, actually, and they like just look like each other. It's like they are like spitting images of a male and female of each other. And that is a physical match. And they're highly into the same things. So, why is that important? Because obviously, if we have a physical match with our partner, we're going to be into the same things. If you're not, which I've had a not physical match twice, it plays out very obvious. I'm into musicals and my ex was into black and white movies that bored the crap out of me. It's just a mismatch. So it's not going to be the most fulfilling in that physical area. So that is area number 2. The third area, and this goes in no order, is spiritual. Now, this one's a little tricky because, again, keep in mind, you're going to want to test this intuitively, because I was a spiritual match with many of my partners, but because of the inside out world and the imbalances, they reflected back a lot of pieces that would seem like we were not a spiritual match, but we were. So intuitively look at this, not logically. Spiritual match means you don't necessarily have to believe in the exact same thing, but when you talk about spiritual stuff, you both connect and resonate with what you're talking about. There is this deep want to evolve together, but the things you talk about on a spiritual level make sense together. You see a world of, yes, I want to build this future with you, and we both resonate on how to do that. That is going to be a spiritual match. The fourth and final match is an emotional match. For a second, I had to think it was one. Is an emotional match. An emotional match is being able to emote the same. So not one person is a lake and the other person is a pond. You get this a lot when people are like, they don't care about me. And it's like, they do, but they can't emote this. The partner I was talking about where we were a mental match, we were not an emotional match. And the whole time I felt like, oh my God, this man does not emotionally care about me, love me, any of that. And he did, but his capacity of emotion was, he was already at his level 10, but that was like a level 2 for me. So I didn't feel what I would feel a level 10 is. And emotional match is going, I mean, for me, you definitely, I mean, all of these you want in a relationship, but I'm an emotional person. And so an emotional match, not having that, you can have this deep connection mentally, but emotionally miss the mark there because you not being that match, it will feel as if you're best friends. And that's kind of what happened in that dynamic is I just felt like we were best friends, but it lacked the emotional connection because we weren't an emotional match. So these are the 4 areas you're going to want to aim for. The more you have, the more you're going to feel that connection. Like I said, this relationship that I'm talking about, that we were a 2 out of 4, we were missing an emotional match and a spiritual match. We were best friends. We were a mental match and a physical match. So we hung out, we had the best time, we could talk for hours, but we lacked emotional connection and spiritual connection, which long term doesn't work. A 2 out of 4, it's very difficult for long term. That's really a relationship to get to know yourself. And that's exactly what happened. In that relationship, I was really getting to know myself. I had a partner who was just my best friend, who was there, who was solid, while I got to know who I was. But that was a very different feeling than the next relationship I had. And that's what I was like, what is at play here? And it's these 4 areas that make that feeling different. And so for him and I, that relationship was to help me get to know me. So if you are a 1 out of 4, which really, if you're 1 out of 4, just run or book a session and we'll figure something out. But a 2 out of 4, you're going to have half of the pieces in this person and you're going to be missing half the pieces. Now, because of the law of no loss of abundance, meaning we can never be in a state of lack. That means during that relationship, the 2 things I was missing, other people held those pieces. I had a friend, I remember that time we were always around each other. She held the other pieces. She was that emotional match and that spiritual match. And so I was not missing the 4 areas. They were just split into 2 people. Now, you could say, yeah, that sounds great. And sometimes a soul will choose for this to happen on purpose because that is the best way to get the things you want. That's why I don't want you to freak out. If you are married and you have a 2 out of 4, there is things we can tweak, but you might have a choice to say, I want to hold it in a friend because that friend is going to be more beneficial to hold those pieces. And that's exactly what happened to me. So you're not going to lose those pieces. But if you're wanting that deep love, that deep connection with a partner, you're going to want them in the partner, especially because our partner, like I said, is going to help us evolve the most. They are the loudest mirror. And the more pieces you have of them holding or being a match, more say, not holding, that we're a match to, that means we're going to be around them more. So this partner, I remember half the time was around him and half the time was around friends. And realistically, I didn't grow as quickly because he wasn't holding more than 2 of those areas. Now, when I got into another relationship where he was a 3 out of 4, I spent more time with him because he was holding those pieces. I was more in love because we were an emotional match, we were a spiritual match, and we were a mental match. We were missing a physical match. So I still had friends that I did things with. So as you see, then I grew quicker. And it's true. I look at those 2 relationships back to back. The first one, a 2 out of 4, I didn't grow as much. I actually had a lot of reflections of playing it too safe and all of that. It was before I really woke up. That was really getting to know me, but I didn't grow as fast as I did with a 3 out of 4. A 3 out of 4 got louder. He was a louder mirror. I spent more time with him. We were more of a match, which meant I was more fulfilling for me. It was more of that in love feeling, but it was still missing that piece. And I remember thinking, God, it's still missing something. And it was that one area. And then another relationship, I had the same thing where I was missing an area, a physical match. So the more you get the 4 areas of a match, the more fulfilled you're going to be, the more you're going to evolve your life because they are going to be this very loud mirror that you spend a lot of time around. And you really want to aim for that higher match because you have these matches out there. They exist, whether you believe it or not, they're there. And we have multiple soulmates, and the soulmates are going to be those higher matches. We do have something called a soul complement, and a soul complement, you could hear other terms. It's called a twin flame. That gets a really bad rep because with a higher match is the thing to keep in mind. It's explosive. So if you don't have the tools like emotional mastery or understanding yourself, the higher of a match that you get, the more explosive it becomes. So when you have a soul complement or a twin flame, it really means it's the other part of your soul. You pretty much, it's the male or masculine version of you. It's this complete one soul. They're identical, just opposite in male and female energy. So that is something that exists. Not every soul goes for that. Most souls don't, because, like I said, talk about a mirror on crack. Again, most people can't sustain that relationship because it is a mirror that will not let go. It is going to be loud. So if you don't have tools within yourself, you can't sustain it. And that's why you get these really high highs and really low lows. And some souls will meet a soul complement and they'll date for like 6 months and then they never see each other again. And that soul decides to date a soulmate or marry a soulmate. And that is actually better for your soul. So, again, if you're worried about, I'm with a 2 out of 4, I'm with a 3 out of 4, and I want a 4 out of 4, don't panic, especially if you're married. There are ways around this to tweak certain things, but it's also very tied to what a soul needs. And there might be a reason why one of your areas is in somebody else. You might benefit more with it being in someone else. You might grow faster because that other person has more pieces in the area that your partner doesn't have. So there are reasons why we will put one of those pieces in something else. But if you want a very fulfilling, deep love relationship, you're going to want to aim for a 3 out of 4 or a 4 out of 4, and you will feel the difference. Again, this was that thing that I kept wondering what was going on because it felt so different and I couldn't pinpoint it. It also helps you realize if there is an area that you are missing. So going back to this relationship that we were 2 out of 4, I remember we would get into so many arguments about him not feeling. I just couldn't understand why he couldn't emote the same way I did. So we wasted so much time on this area being a problem. And if I knew this at the time, I would have just said, we're not a match. This is not something we can change. So we're just going to accept it and focus on the areas that we are a match in. So lean more into the mental, lean more into the physical match because that's what we had. So keep in mind, if you have areas that you are a match in, but you have 1 or 2 that you're not a match in. And again, 3, if you have 3 missing, run, run, run. And do not go for a 1 out of 4. You deserve more. But if you are missing an area, do not focus in on it. Don't try to fix it because it's impossible to fix unless there's some little pieces we can do in a session to help. But my point is if there's an area missing, don't focus on it. I look back at that relationship and that's all we focused on. And it was because at the time I didn't understand this 4 out of 4 thing. And it's the same thing with other relationships. I knew a certain area was not a match. So then I started to focus on the other ones, and that made my relationship more fulfilling. It'll also make you understand what's going on. So you don't think your partner hates you or something's wrong. It's just we're a match or we're not a match in this area. And that can be super helpful. And then you also know these are the areas that will help me evolve with this partner. So instead of focusing on the emotional match that's not there, that's not going to help me evolve. The other areas are going to help me evolve. That is where we can deepen our connection. And the more you deepen your connection in these areas, the more your relationship gets better. Again, a relationship should get better, not worse. And there are so many tools in the relationship category because of it being the best tool on this planet to help you evolve. That means it's more complex, it has more things going on, a lot more spiritual understandings. But this is the first understanding I wanted to share with you because as I was evolving and I was waking up and I was using all these tools, relationships played a huge part in my evolution and me mastering tools. And there was always this confusion of why different relationships felt different, what was going on. And these 4 areas helped me understand how to look at my relationship, how to use my relationship. So again, keep in mind, do your best on not guessing or using your logic brain to find these areas because the two relationships I had back to back, we were a spiritual match, but because that was an area that I cared a lot about, it was very reflective. So it could seem on the surface that we were not a spiritual match. But again, keep in mind also certain souls, even though you're a match in an area, there can be one of the partner that needs to grow a bit for it to kind of sink in and connect more. And that will have a lot to do with free will if that person wants to evolve. For me, with one of my relationships, the way for us to be a physical match was me actually growing and learning what I enjoyed physically. I didn't know because I was undoing so much within me that I didn't even know what I enjoyed physically. And he actually held those pieces, even though we were not a physical match, how he lived life, certain physical things I actually enjoyed. And so I would follow his lead in that to help me learn those physical things. And it helped us come as close as we possibly could to a physical match. And it helped me evolve. So there is actually a way to use the piece that's missing. So there's so much you can play with these 4 areas, but have fun with this. And again, don't freak out if you're missing a piece. Again, if it's a 1 out of 4, that's the only time I'm going to say run, run, run. But realistically, honestly, it should be a 3 out of 4 or higher. And just know this is how you get that deeper, deeper connection. And you should have this also with friends. You can feel the difference. It's the deepest connections you possibly have. My friendships are the best friendships I've ever had now in my life because of this, because I evolved and grew and made my life better. I got better matches. I got 3 out of 4s and 4 out of 4s. And those relationships are more fulfilling than the relationships I had years ago. And again, there's no judgment. It's just the person is holding more of the puzzle piece that I'm holding. So we just jive together. So enjoy this, play with this. Thank you so much for joining. It means the absolute world to me. My goal is to reach as many people as I possibly can. And I cannot do this without you. So please like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, share this with anyone you feel like it would resonate with. Again, I cannot do this without you. So thank you.